What would you pay for a kilo of human meat? Hi people, it's been so long, I know, but things have been absolutely chaotic lately. I moved out of my hometown for college, I was moving to Delhi, I was trying to figure out what the hell is going on, how everything works, and okay, I have a lot of new ideas and a lot of new videos planned, especially for my A-Lit and CLAT aspirants. Keep an eye out and stay tuned. I have amazing videos planned for you guys. Anyhow, for today though, we are diving back into our usual vibe, something raw and unsettling. Here's a question for you guys. What is the price of a life? Well, here in Delhi, you might buy chicken for about 260 rupees per kilo. That's pretty normal. But what would you pay for a kilo of human meat? Sounds weird, insane maybe. Good. Sit with that. Sit with that feeling of discomfort and of unease and ask yourself why. Why is it that one life feels disposable and another sacred? And why do we feel this way? In this video, we'll explore why we eat the animals we do and what's possible with plant-based alternatives, why cannibalism unsettles us, and what history reveals. And the third is How Tender is the Flesh, a book by Augustina Bastarrica, unravels these lines. So let's go. Part 1. Why do we eat chickens and not hummingbirds? Why do we eat goats but not dogs? And why do we eat catfish but not clownfish? Because those are cute or rare? Well, chickens were not abundant. We bred them and we made them abundant. And well, cuteness is a matter of perspective. Aren't chickens cute as well? Not as much as hummingbirds, maybe, but they are cute. So where do we and why do we draw these lines? Let's be real, part of it is the taste. A chicken burger in its flavors, texture, everything is much better than a pea protein, soy, whatever burger. And no, that's not primitive, it's biological. We are wired to crave caloric fatty foods. They kept us alive when food was scarce. According to this massive nectar blind taste test, 20 plant-based products scored as high or higher than animal meat. But lots didn't hit the mark. So taste, it does matter, but it isn't the whole story. The second is the price. The plant-based meat markets were around $4.8 billion and raised to around $7.8 billion from 2018 to 2021. But recently, these have dropped like 13% in dollar terms and 26% in units because it is costly. $7.8 billion sounds impressive, but walk into any store and the soy patty is still twice the price of chicken. It is much more expensive than beef. It is almost 2.5 times more expensive than chicken. So it is only fair to say that chicken or meat in general hits the mark more often with both taste and convenience, whether that is availability or economic feasibility. Like, for example, here in Delhi, I can walk to any market and get sprouts, lentils, moong dal, whatever, pulse for pretty much 10 times cheaper than any meat, any chicken, anything that is, protein in a meat form. Because it is culturally intrinsic. But in North America or elsewhere, those items might be niche. So for me or for my Indian viewers personally, a plant-based diet is pretty damn affordable and very easy to find. But in many places, legumes don't show up in every cuisine. Therefore, it is not a lack of will, but a lack of access. Plant-based meat is still pretty pricey, and on top of that, indigenous communities all over the world, well, they don't see hunting just as survival, but as connection to land and connection to animals and their cultures. Their food systems aren't transactional, they are relational. We see this all over the world. They use an animal down to the bone. And honestly, we cannot say that it is exploitative in itself or that it is immoral or unethical. Because to be honest, they are the only culture which truly respects the animal that they kill. Whereas on the Western front or in the more urbanized areas, we are killing animals on such a massive scale that it is almost grotesque. Dare I say, almost inhumane. Regardless, when we talk about changing our diet, we have to ask, Are we just slapping moral judgments on things, or are we seeing the real barriers, the economic, the cultural, and geographical obstacles? Because as far as we've discussed, you cannot reasonably ask a person living in, say, Canada or in Texas, or a tribe living in Brazil to change their diet to one that is more vegan, to be more humane. So I'm not saying that we should all go vegan or we are evil, because, well, that just does not work. What I am saying is our choices are shaped by taste, by money, by identity, and a million other factors that most of the time are not in our hands. And that's where we have to zoom out even further and ask, then how do we decide which or what lives count as dispensable, as just a thing that we can eat and it is acceptable to be eaten? And then I move on to present the question to you about cannibalism. So, why not humans? What flips the societal switch from acceptable to abhorrent when we talk about eating humans? Is it size? Well, cows and pigs are far larger than humans, so that can't be it. Is it kinship or genetic closeness? Well, we share over 98% of our DNA with chimpanzees and are also close cousins with pigs, believe it or not. Well, genetically at least. So that doesn't fully explain it either. Communication? Well, we talk and animals don't. So, yeah, sure, fair enough. But we understand animal behavior, so that can't be it either. Then, what is this line? That line, I believe, is somewhere deep in our social wiring. It is about taboo, purity, and fear. We define certain bodies as sacrosanct, and cannibalism shatters that. Now, let's talk historically. In the book, The Delectable Negro, Winston Woodard and Dwight McBride argue that cannibalism wasn't just metaphor, it happened. And it is true. Some enslaved black people were literally eaten, used as commodities and meat. In the famous case of the Portuguese Arangate, 1837, historians found survivors' testimonies that crew members killed an African man, cooked his heart and liver, and served them to others on board. Beyond in the Atlantic crossing, slave traders occasionally ate enslaved people. They claimed it to be survival or ritual, but the horror is undeniable. And several other parts of history point towards the eating of enslaved people, like colonizers weaponized cannibalism accusations to enforce subjugation. Europeans painted indigenous people as savage cannibals to justify conquest. Ironically, colonial Europe had its own form of cannibalism. Victorian London's Cannibal Club, an elite dinner society built around cannibal symbolism, including thigh bone scepters. Then scholars and lay people used corpse medicine, eating powdered mummies, human fat, blood to cure ailments. They portrayed themselves as civilized even while they consumed human remains themselves, all the while putting down other cultures which even had a remnant of such food habits. Then we move on to survival cannibalism. We have talked about what historical evidence we have of cannibalism. But even if you're not up for cannibalism that stems out of hatred for a certain sect of humanity, you might be down for survival cannibalism. You might argue that those cases were exceptional but not everyday. So let's talk about a case, Queen versus Dudley and Stevens, 1884. This involved a shipwrecked crew cabin which was starving, and therein came a dilemma. They drew sticks in lots and killed a cabin boy to survive. It is utilitarian ethics in raw action, and Professor Michael Sandels from Harvard picks this apart beautifully in his book Justice. Anyhow, they survived, but the law punished them, and many others in the hundreds such cases that exist. We drew a hard line. Necessity didn't make killing a human okay. So, how do we justify killing animals by saying it is necessary? We say we need the protein or the nutrients, the sustenance, because necessity didn't make it okay to kill a human being in the case of Dudley versus Stevens. So, what changed? If humans are off the table, why not cows, pigs, and chickens? Is our ethical system based on sentience, survival, or something far older and more constructed, like the stories we tell ourselves about who matters and who doesn't? We say we'd rather die than eat another human, but nobody is dying for an animal. And even if you don't stand for survival cannibalism, let's say, there will always be the part about ritualistic and indigenous cannibalism. So, cannibalism isn't just desperation, it's ritual. The Aztecs consumed sacrificial victims after their rituals. In Brazil, the Wari practiced mortuary cannibalism, eating their relatives to keep their souls within the family, a sign of love, not taboo. The Tupi people in Brazil and others like Keti consumed the flesh of captured warriors, not out of necessity but belief that ingesting a brave enemy would transfer their strength. These practices challenge the idea of cannibalism as savage. They are culturally embedded rituals and even respectful. So here's where we have landed. Cannibalism has existed throughout history, for better or for worse, for survival or for ritual. And cannibalism didn't die with archaic rituals either. It still exists. Right now, allegations swirl around places like Epstein Island, claims that powerful people engaged in cannibal rituals alongside sexual abuse. Even if unproven, the rumors persist because the taboo hasn't faded. Yet we condemn it, absolutely. We made it illegal and unnatural, but let's be honest, nearly all the food we eat today involves death, and lots of it. So what enables that shift? What makes chicken flesh edible and human flesh forbidden? And here's the core challenge. If we already eat animals, small or large, intelligent or not, what flips us when it's humans? And that is the question we will sit with as we move into Tender is the Flesh. Because in this novel, all those boundaries fall apart. Now, Tender is the Flesh is a dystopian novel set in the future where a mysterious virus has made all animal meat poisonous to humans. In response, the global food industry transitions to a new source of meat: humans. The story follows Marcus, a man working in the new meat industry, navigating the haunting reality of a world where cannibalism is normalized, regulated, and industrialized. The novel is less about gore and more about ethics, complicity, and what it means to be human when humanity itself is commodified. So now that we've established that eating animals is normal and eating humans is questionable at least, let's jump into this world where that line has completely crumbled. Tender is the Flesh takes that taboo and flips it on its head. A virus that made all animal meat deadly, or so they say. The solution is human meat, sanitized, normalized, and commercialized. But what if it wasn't about survival? What if it was about control? Now, the first is the propaganda and how it parallels to our present day scenario. The government in the novel pushes the narrative that there is no way to survive, that plant based protein is not enough, and that humans require meat based protein for their survival. Sound familiar? Well, if you're on any social media platform, it has to. Because even in 2025, despite scientific advancements that have taken us to different planets, we are told that eating meat is necessary. It is strange, though, that we can simulate a human face with AI but not build sustainable protein without killing a living being. The vegan industry has taken off, yes, but as we discussed in our previous section, it is not enough. It is not feasible enough or not accessible enough to feed the entire planet. And it is kind of brilliant how the book takes that and puts it in a plate where instead of animal meat, we are now supposed to be eating human meat. And how did we reach that stage of eating human meat? Well, in the novel, humans are raised for slaughter. But the humans that are raised as such are not called humans. They are called heads. They are never referred to people or such. And it is not unlike what we do to animals today. No identity, no emotions, just product. We don't eat a cow, we eat beef. We don't eat a pig, we eat pork. The distancing is deliberate because distance breeds apathy. And apathy is exactly what you need when you need people to be ingesting something, to be eating something that was living, that was alive. This parallels slavery too, because these people were also stripped of their names, dignity, family, and reduced to laboring bodies. We have seen the same script throughout history, whether that be the British in their colonies carrying out massive massacres or the Holocaust in Nazi Germany. These people were reduced to subhumans, and it is just basically a rebranding of violence. Now, I want to talk about the most horrifying scenes for me personally, which there were two of. The first is when our lead Marcus goes to the house of this super rich and powerful man who runs a place where people can hunt humans for fun or for sport. He sits down for a meal made from that hunt, and it parallels the world of today amazingly, where the ultra rich, super powerful people hunt animals for fun or for sport just because they can, which really points to how power has always made a game of suffering. The most haunting scene is the end of the book. The lead, Marcus, is seen taking care of a female from somewhere around half of the book, and he really connected with that female, or so we can see. And throughout the book, we think that he is different. We see him treat her gently with respect and allow her this humanness that we don't see anywhere else in the book. It seemed as though he shared something special with her. And later, he is involved in a sexual relationship with the head, which is prohibited in the universe, by the way. The humans are not supposed to, quote unquote, enjoy, as it is said in the book, the female or the heads in general. It has been made illegal, but some people still do it. Again, a parallel not too uncommon in our current day reality. Well, anyhow, he gets her pregnant, he has a baby with her, but as soon as the baby is born, he goes back to his wife and he kills her. He kills the female head. And in that moment, that whole facade of thinking that this person was different, that this person was more human than the others, shatters around you. Because he was not different. In fact, he was just waiting for a moment to slip back into comfort. He did not choose morality, he was just struggling with it. And in the end, he gives into what is normal, which is not unlike what we see all around us today. People raise animals for slaughter. They cradle their puppies and their cats, but are totally okay with eating chicken curry for dinner. And that is why I think this book beautifully captures a horror that is so prevalent in our society today. So this video was not about telling you to go vegan. It is not a propaganda video. It's just a question I have been asking myself because I eat meat. I like it and I struggle with it. But when I read something like this book, it makes me pause and makes me reflect. It makes me question my own psyche and that of the rest of humanity. So I want to see some conversations happening around this, which I don't see too often. And so I hope I can see some respectful discourse in the comment section. And before I bid you all farewell, I would like to extend one last question to you all. If everyone was eating human meat, would you? Until next time, yours truly.